a great honor to be here. When Mary called and asked would I do this, I said, Mary, come on, I'm an applied field plant pathologist. I haven't done any basic research. I have really written very, very few papers. There's no brilliant discoveries. Why would you want me? She goes, yeah, we know you haven't done much, but you were a female in the ag industry when there weren't many females there. So let's hear your story. I said, well, I can do that then. So that's what we'll talk about. And it's an industry plant pathologist. I will say up front that there are many industry plant pathologists that do basic research, that do publish a lot of papers. So I'm just more of the applied side. So let's start at Tulane. I went there for my undergrad degree. I was going to be a math major, and my first failure was flunking calculus. So I quickly switched to biology, and at Tulane it was more of a pre-med program there. And I wasn't pre-med, I wasn't interested in that, but I was interested in plants, and so took all the courses I could that were plant-based. Had no idea where that would lead me. So I took a year after I graduated and spent some time working at the Tulane Med School and then traveling in Europe. Came back home to Texas. I live about 3 hours away, my hometown is, and got the Texas A&M grad school catalog. And I just was flipping through it to say, what would be interesting? And there was, and I don't remember the name of the program, but it was something to do with environmental assessments. So I said, that sounds interesting. Go out and identify flora and fauna that would be destroyed by putting in this interstate or whatever. So I applied and was accepted, and Dr. Robert Toller, a virologist, was my advisor. I don't know what the connection was with that program and Plant Path, but anyway, he was the advisor, and he had me take some undergrad ag courses, one of which was Plant Path 301. And I loved it. I had never heard of plant pathology, had never looked through a microscope at fungi, but it was great. I joined that program, and grad students like Jackie, Charlie Rush, Tallow, Kitty Cardwell. I mean, it was just a great group of people that were there and very fascinating. And we used to jump in the van from A&M and drive to East Lansing for the meeting there, drive to Albuquerque. We had a great time. My research project with Dr. Toller was a survey of corn and virus diseases using a very new technique called ELISA. Yes, it was very new at that time. It was being used in medicine, not even much in vet medicine. In fact, I went over to the veterinary school, and we kind of collaborated on getting our proteins purified and getting this test to work. When I was finished my master's, I wanted to go to work. Kitty, meanwhile, was brave enough to go to the Peace Corps, but I wanted to work. So I went to interview with Diamond Shamrock. Flew up to Cleveland. I thought I did a great job, but I guess I didn't. Another failure. Didn't get the job offer, but I wrote him a letter thanking him and said, can you please give me some feedback? And they did. It was really, really great feedback. So I always recommend get constructive criticism, take it to heart, improve yourself. So get feedback. And one of the things they said was go get your PhD. So, okay. With Dr. Toller's help, I went to Auburn and studied nematology now under Rodrigo Rodriguez-Cabana. It was more of a lab, greenhouse research project, but my assistantship was based on helping Dr. Rodriguez-Cabana put out nematicide trials. So he was working with a lot of the chemical companies, and that's where I met a lot of the industry reps, putting out those trials. And I loved doing the field work. I liked doing those comparisons about what's working and seeing things that worked and didn't work. That was a lot of fun. So I said, that's what I want to do. The SEBA rep at the time I knew, and he said, hey, I've seen you. You drive a tractor. You don't mind getting dirty. And so he recommended me. And also at that time, they were looking for women. So there were actually, SEBA hired 4 women at that time, 1 in weed science, 1 in entomology, and 2 in plant pathology. There were 2 of us that interviewed for the same job. They liked Eileen Watson as well, and they created another job for her. So there were 4 women. So that was like 1982. Guess how many women we have today in the field? 1 woman. So we're still looking, we're still, that diversification thing is still happening. We need to have other people out there. We do have other women on our research station in the research, but there's only one field rep. So after I finished there, I was hired by SEBA at the time. So I'll get to that picture where I'm almost sleeping in a minute. I was a field scientist in Georgia. So here I was. It was a new territory, but it had been covered previously. And so what was it like being a female calling on growers, extension agents, university people that were all men? I was normal. It was equal. I went, I did my job. I was making $29,000 a year, a little bit more than $2,900, but I thought I was rich, and I was not going to mess up this job. I thought it was great. So basically, it was, treat everybody equal. It was just normal. I went in, I did my job, got the job done, and that included even putting on waiters and going into chicken houses, wading through manure, counting fly larvae. Yes, we were developing a feed-through for chickens. So you work from dawn to dusk, you spray, you rate, and you just get the job done. So there wasn't any special threats one way or the other or discrimination. I did have one colleague tell me, though, that when she interviewed with her future boss, she was asked, "So, are you just going to get married and get pregnant?" So she responded, "That's none of your business." But anyway, I never had anything like that. So just get the job done. In 1985, I had a chance to move into Greensboro, to the headquarters there, and work with. There were two people on staff, Doug Houseworth and J.R. James, with Vince Morton was the leader. We had two active ingredients, metalaxyl and propiconazole, and those were made 5 products. Today, there are still 3 people on the staff with 13 active ingredients and about 37, 38 products, James, I don't know. There's a lot. So I think we're still a little bit understaffed there, but we're getting the job done. One of the things that when I first started, the global group was wanting to do diagnostics in Septoria on wheat, as also Phytophthora in soybeans and Pythium on turf. Well, back, when I did my master's, I did the ELISA, so I was the expert. So the expert really means I know more than anybody else, but it didn't mean I was the expert. But Vince and I went to this company in New Jersey, AgriDiagnostics, and worked with them on developing these toolkits. So I worked for 2 years with a pathologist there at AgriDiagnostics, Sally Miller. And Sally and I met way back. And we've been roommates for 27 years now. And I was so excited for last year when she was president. I'm going to stay in the presidential suite. And she invited Chip as a roommate. I was like, okay, you owe me, Sally. Her husband. But anyway, so that was a good experience. And then I was also the turf expert. So with these 3 people now, Doug had vegetables and metalaxyl, JR had field crops and propiconazole. I had both the products in turf and ornamentals as well as the new products. So I was the turf expert. Global, again, didn't have anybody in turf, so they asked me to go to this International Turfgrass Conference in Japan. And so back then, so being the field person, I wanted to see our Japanese companies, how they did their field trials. So I wrote a letter, and you hand wrote a letter, sent it to a typing center, it came back, you formally signed it with your boss, so V. Morton and A. Talley. It goes to Japan, it comes back, yes, we'll be glad to host you, we'll pick you up at the airport. So I fly over 2 days early for the meeting, and they pick me up, and there's a guy there with, they sign A. Talley, and I walk up and say, hello, and he goes, you a girl. So yeah, so A. Talley, he had no clue. But anyway, they fully expected a guy to show up. So the next day we go to the lab, and I'm informed that no, we cannot go to the field. And I was disappointed. I mean, I'd gone 2 days early so I could go see their field trials. I said, well, why not? Too far away. How far? Oh, 1 hour. Well, I'm from Texas. We go to a movie in 1 hour. It's like, so I said, that's no problem. I can be ready whenever you're ready. Okay, don't take too much water. No restroom facilities for women. So we got that. I'm okay. So we worked through that. And then the other kind of awkward female story was the first time I went to Basel, they were very, very formal there at that time. It was, Herr Dr. Professor Schwinn or Dr. James or Dr. Urick. It was very formal. And Dr. this and Mrs. Talley. No. And so I said, well, I want to be Dr. Talley. I never demanded that before until then, but, if you're going to call JR Dr. James, I want to be Dr. Talley. They could not do that. That was just not their culture. So we finally said, okay, I'll call you Allison. You can call me Jörg. So we went to the first name. And today, of course, it's a lot more informal. In fact, most of the plant path team is female now in Basel. They also, at this meeting, would look at JR to say, can the U.S. do this? When JR was working in Basel, and then he would say, can you do this? And I'd say, yes. And it went back and forth. And finally we said, stop, talk to me. I'm not chopped liver here. But we got through that one. Next is a lobbyist. I was not really a lobbyist. I was working full-time on the staff, but I was not completely busy. I was only like 120% busy. So I said, I've got time to do something else. And so I asked our Washington lobbyist, could I shadow him for a while just to see what it was. So we agreed with Vince. For 4 or 5 months, I would go up for 2 days a week. So that's where the schmoozer comes from, because it was interesting. I wasn't that impressed with Washington, D.C. or lobbyists. I do understand the importance of getting the right information to the staffers there on the Hill, because they read stuff on the internet and the papers. So having someone that is an expert, come talk to them, that is important. But there's too much money in that. Then I came, full-time on the staff, switched to planning. And the project planners, they're the ones that run all the meetings for the different projects, follow the budgets, the timelines, take issues to management. So there you learn things like, organizational skills and facilitation, which was a useful tool then later on. That planning group was dissolved, but the function wasn't. So I was assigned to the herbicides to do the planning just for the herbicide team. And at that time, my new boss then looked at the salaries, and sure enough, I was making less than my male colleagues. It had never occurred to me to ask that comparison be made, because I never felt discriminated against, and I had lots of opportunities, but there was indeed a difference in salary. So I should have done that a lot earlier. But anyway, he made a significant adjustment, so all was good the rest of my career. In that herbicide role, I got to be the new product manager. So now I got exposed to some marketing and financial things. And it was really fun. We were launching a new corn herbicides, and those that know Ciba, Syngenta, that corn herbicides are a big deal for our company. The new corn herbicide. It was the greatest launch ever. Awesome, spectacular, unbelievable. The next year, boneheaded, stupid. What were we thinking? It was my biggest failure as well. The corn herbicide had carried over, so now we had crop injury to thousands of acres of soybeans. Wasn't a pretty picture. And had we done testing? Of course we had done a lot of carryover tests. But Mother Nature never fails to throw a curveball at you. It was the driest, coldest winter in the Midwest. The stuff didn't metabolize. It carried over. We have a lot better, robust modeling now to try to mitigate the risk even more. But in my pathology career, I've also had some, oops, failures too. And all you can do is say, I won't make that mistake again. But Mother Nature, I guarantee, is going to figure out some other way to mess up your products. Denise is over there nodding. Yeah, she's had those things too. So then the mergers start happening. And Novartis comes in. That's the merger with Ciba and Sandoz, and I become the technical manager for the fungicide, insecticide, and the PGRs, the plant growth regulators. And you can't see my desk, but it was always messy. But I'm a very organized person. I knew where everything was. I tried one time to file everything away neatly, and it was out of sight, out of mind. So it was better just to leave it on my desk there. And so there I got some opportunities to do some people management, and also expand my circle to the IR4 team. We had worked a little bit with IR4 before, but at that time we couldn't get Switch, which is a good fungicide with fludeoxonil and cyprodenil, off the ground. It was sold in other parts of the world, but it never made a financial business case because it was just too expensive. The fludeoxonil part was too expensive. But IR4 came in, and they did a lot of the residue work and help in getting that registered to make it affordable. And the same with the post-harvest group. So the fludeoxonil used in post-harvest, those were good new products and avenues for us that IR4 helped us a lot with. So the merger mania continued, and Novartis merged with Zeneca in 2000. And during that time, from the announcement to the actual mergers, there's all sorts of rumors, and people, are you going to have your job? Is your salary going to be the same? Are you going to have to relocate? I mean, there's a lot of distractions going on. So it behooves both companies to try to get together as quickly as they possibly can and start talking about organization. So with those planning skills and the facilitation, I got to be involved with a lot of that, and that was interesting and fun. But I'm glad to say that since 2000, we haven't had to do that. Now, Kim China was bought out just now, but that was not a merger. It's just a flat buyout, so there's been no organizational changes to date. But I'm sure there will be at some time. But there, I've been in that role now or I was until I retired last year, for 16 years. And so you might say, well, from 82 to 96, you had 4 different jobs, and now you've only had 1 different job. Did you peak in your career? Did you flame out? Why didn't you do more? Because it was going on pretty good. Well, actually, I did do a lot more. It was the same position, but the position was more. It was a more global position. We had more input into what's going on globally, on global teams, and we were in a marketing group, so we had a lot of marketing and sales and things like that. So it was a bigger job than the previous job, but it was, and they flattened the organization too. So, but it was great. So in this job, we generate a lot of data. I didn't generate it; our field people did, and a lot of people here generated that data. So our position was to write the labels, make sure we can support all of our claims. And in that, we don't always agree. We don't always agree with our university people and their perspectives on resistance management or how we're using our data. And so it's important to agree to disagree, to be right up front, and see what the differences are, why they think this way and why we think this way, and let them know that we're not trying to diss them or pull the rug out from under their feet, but this is just our position. So we just, try to take the high road. You sleep better at night. You don't have to remember what you said because, you said whatever the truth was. As mentioned before, you have these downturns, these drudgery things, and just focus on what the positive things are. Feed the world. That's important, and that's what we intend to do, and our contributions to that. There's been a lot of good team efforts with our competitors. The Fungicide Resistance Action Committee is an example where we work directly with our competitors, and it's a great group of people. We talk about their resistance research, our resistance, and we share that information. We try to coordinate our label directions to where we're all saying the same thing, and because we truly believe we need to sustain these products. Did I have a family during all this time? Yes, I did. This is a picture when the youngest was only a year old in, I think, 1993, and then this was this was last year when a little retirement doodah, and my girls were braver than me. The oldest one went to the Peace Corps in Tanzania. The youngest one just finished the Peace Corps in Paraguay, and my son's a F-16 fighter pilot. So they got all that bravery from their dad, I guess. It wasn't from me. But the jack of all trades. There's a whole list of skills acquired, experience I've had. When you're in the corporate world, you don't always do the same thing all the time. You get opportunities to do different things, and that's certainly something I would advise everybody. Be the expert in something, which again doesn't mean that you're the expert, it's just that you know more than anybody else. You never know where that might lead you. Don't burn bridges. I worked with chemists and toxicologists that later on, I had to do the planning part with. So you never know who's going to be your boss and what's going to happen. So always take the positive side. And the success that I've had, has a lot to do with who I've been involved with, which is a lot of you people here. The people in Syngenta, my competitive colleagues, learning from them, the people at the universities and USDA who have generated a lot of the data, and showed great skills in field research that I've learned a lot from, and so it's been a wonderful ride, and it was just time for me to go last year. I'm still involved with APS, which because it's fun. The society's been great, a great opportunity. Taking opportunities, all those new workshop skills that they have, the committees that they have, the networking opportunities. You meet a lot of people and make a lot of lifelong friends. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Yes, sir, Bob.
Yeah, a lot of students come in and their idea is after PhD to go on and to become a professor, to do research. And so for a lot of them, the idea of going into industry is foreign to them, or they think it's someone else's career now. So from your perspective of career in industry, what do you think are the best parts about moving into industry and the most rewarding parts about being an industry career as opposed to pursuing an academic career?
I don't have to write any grants. So I guess that's one of the good parts. You don't have to publish. You can publish. We're not prohibited from publishing. It's just a lot of us don't, but there are a few that actually like to, and they do, especially the ones that do more of the basic research. For me, I was just more applied and focused and liked a clear direction in what I was doing. So, here, go test all this stuff. Here's what you got to do as a field rep. When you're on the staff, you've got to see where your data gaps are. And so I liked having, a clear focus on that. We don't get tenure, so maybe that's the bad part. We can be fired if we're not performing. But other than that, I think it's been really good. It has been challenging sometimes, actually, as an industry scientist, with some of the people in APS. Just, are we as good a scientist as a university person is? And that's been frustrating at times. I think we've made a lot of strides to say, yes, we also have our PhDs. We're in the same programs as Jackie Fletcher was. And so I think we're getting better at that. But I think for a while it was just, we provide the money for the parties. And that was what we were good for. But I think people are seeing us a little bit differently now. So. Yes. Hey, Doug.
First of all, now I know who to thank, because following that cold, dry winter, my diagnostic clinic was overrun with stunted yellow bottom run for But for graduate students that might be interested in going into industry, are there some non-science courses they ought to consider taking to help better prepare them for that corporate world?
I think, there's always good, good skill sets, presentation skills and things like that. I can't think of anything in particular. Just, I don't know, any of my other industry colleagues have a comment on that. It's mostly, hey, Beth. Yeah, Beth mentioned the regulatory, aspects of it. What the EPA wants, and in the U.S., we're lucky we don't have to have GLP field trials. In other parts of the world, they do, and someday we might. But that's an important aspect to understand that. But no, I think the interview process. I think from what I've seen in the past is, can you do the job? Are you willing to do it? If you come in a totally molecular background to an applied job, have you at least taken a diagnostic course and been in the field? Have you done something? Go pick strawberries or botrytis, whatever. We'll take molecular people, but have you done anything? So some kind of practical aspect.
Allison, you've been very involved in APS over the years. How has that helped your career?
I don't know if it actually helped my career as far as promotions went, but it has certainly been very, very satisfying for me personally. And every boss I've had has been very supportive of any time I had to spend with APS committees or whatever. So they support that, but there wasn't any extra pay involved with that. So it's been something that I personally wanted to do, and others in the industry have also stepped up and done a lot of things, but it's just a personal thing. It doesn't really help the career unless you could say, well, I'm a better leader for being on this one committee or something. So in an indirect way. Kat? Yeah.
What one trip would stick out in your mind as the most interesting or most exciting that you think about your investors to get back into the farthest?
Well, I saw, just, traveling mostly in the United States and any field trials was always good. But I guess one of the most fun things was the whole soybean rust effort. And again, that was universities, USDA, EPA, all the industries working very, very close together for a 2-year period. Mary Palm was involved with that, the mycologist laureate. But that was, so going to Brazil and seeing the soybean rust, because we were hearing about it, but actually seeing it, that was probably good. And I probably made 3 trips in 1 year because we were testing, we couldn't test our products. Certainly Brazil had products, but they weren't always the same products we had. So we had to understand, did Bravo work? Did Actigard work? Did Tilt work? And so there's a guy back there that helped put out some of these trials to see, did the products we have in the U.S. work? So, if it came here, we would know. We had a big project with John Roop on the, the spore traps. And so that whole experience and those trips to Brazil, that was really exciting.
I want to make a sort of general comment, with Allison and Jim, that clearly, you both have had stellar careers and you're very bright in each area that you both have worked in. But what really stands out to me is your networks. It was a network just from your major professors, your fellow colleagues, students that you met, and as you went along your careers and your other connections, whether on the industry side, Jim on the USDA, more academic side. And it's about your networks, your colleagues, your friends that help move you along and help with creating opportunities. And I think that's a really great overarching thing for hopefully a lot of students in here and all of us that have been working for a number of years. It's the joy factor, but it's also the factor that really helps you become the person that you are. So,
Good. Thanks.
Great for you, what you guys have accomplished. It's wonderful to hear about.
So go out and work like a girl.